Well, hello. Okay, so today I want to do a quick little tutorial intro. Hello, Grace. All about stenciling, and specifically stenciling using your never a dull moment with Grace, the Instagram cat. She loves YouTube. Anyways, so I want to show you a bit about stenciling, specifically with gelatos, and some of the various methods that there are that you can use to stencil with. There's obviously so many, and so many people prefer different methods, and I'm just going to show you a few that I really like quickly. And these you can obviously do in your Bible or in your project. You can even make your own journaling cards for your project, life project, using stencils and gelatos to put some color and texture on your own homemade twist. I love doing anything that is personalized and has me on it, that I can leave to my family and the legacy and the all of that. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to show you a few. I've just got a few off-cut papers, and you can obviously use a great deal of stencils which are available, or you can cut your own. I've done that as well. I'm just going to use this Room 5 graphics stencil to show you a little bit, and you'll see that it's very dirty. I've used it a bunch. So let's get started. Let's start with your fingers. You can use your fingers. Let me just get a color here. I'm going to start with a bit of Grace. No one can see anything. You can either scribble the color on a non-stick craft mat or piece of packaging or plastic or whatever it does not absorb the color but sits on top, and then pick up your finger, or use your finger just to pick up the color, and you can do it just like that. I sometimes do the lazy method and scribble the gelatos directly onto my stencils, which works just fine, and it cleans off because gelatos are water-based, so you can just wash it off, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I just scribble right next to the edge of the stencil, and then I can just smear it in. So obviously the only difference between this and that is that I don't have to go all the way back there all the time to pick up the color. It's right there. Now the problem with finger stenciling is that you lose a lot of detail if it's a small fine stencil. Plus doing it over that scratched or that cut surface sometimes is a bit of torture on your fingers. So I've done that with mixed media projects, especially when I want to edge the canvas over the gesso. It does eventually start to hurt a little bit. So the effect that you get is that, and you'll see that because you pick up whole pieces of pigment with your finger, it does leave some streaks. But if that's the look you're going through, like for a wood grained or a old weathered lantern, that's great. And these work particularly well with larger detail stencils. So if I've got a more detailed stencil, my finger won't get into the nitty-gritties of those, but it works just great for bigger stencils with less small detail and cuts. Sorry, sometimes I find it hard to talk and do. I think that's why I do voiceovers. So there you'll see it works just fine for that. The other way that you can use, and like I said, water soluble, so you just wipe off all the things and nothing stays and nothing is dirty. I am sometimes a bit too rough with my stencils. This stencil is from Room 5 Graphics. I love their stencils. It's beautiful, especially with the last technique I'm going to show you. Our next technique, and so as not to waste paper, let's do that on the back, and I'm just going to use the same color because I want to show you the effect using a sponge dauber as opposed to a finger. So I'm gonna just want to make sure this is dry, not that it makes a difference, but just gives a crisper image. I'm gonna use the same color, and I'm going to use a finger dauber. So these are called finger daubers. They're available from most of your craft stores. Locally, Celindy Scrappers has them, and her Annie's has them. So there's quite a few places that you can pick up these locally. And so what you'll do is, instead of using your naked finger, you'll pick it up with a sponge. Now this sponge has a domed shape, so it doesn't get stuck on those edges of the stencil. So just pick up my color, and you can already see that it picks up way more of the color than just with my finger. And you'll sponge or finger dauber that through. Again, if you have very much detail on your stencil like this one, the sponge is such that it'll move those fine little pieces. So you do need to be careful of that, so that you get equal blending everywhere. And then obviously that you don't break your stencil. You can also just like sponge it through. You do have to use a bit of force for that though. Okay, so that's what it looks like on the detailed stencil, and you can already see the difference between that. I didn't pick up any of those fine details that I did on here with the sponge dauber. So sponge dauber, better than your finger for detailed pieces. Let's try these flowers quickly to see how they pick up. These are relatively inexpensive, so you can pick up a few, and there you go. You can see you've got pretty nice detail on those, and it gets the job done. So besides the last technique, this sponge dauber is pretty much one of my favorites to do stenciling with. You get various types of sponge daubers, obviously. You get the blending tool, the Tim Holtz blending tools. You get one with the Faber-Castell products, which works just as well. This one I just like because it gives you the control of using your own finger as opposed to a applicator or a tool. Okay, a lot of people use makeup brushes. Works very much the same as a, let's get a different color, very much the same as a finger dauber, except that it has a different texture to that, and you'll see what I mean when I put that down here. Let's get a bright color, maybe some green. This is a metallic green. I'm just going to get a clean paper. Same stencil, and you pick it up with the makeup sponge. These specific ones also come in the Faber-Castell kits. What I don't like about these ones is that they're a bit flimsy. So I don't know, I just can't control where the color goes as well as what I do with the sponge daubers. You do get different types of makeup sponges, like you makeup artists would know, large ones, hard ones, and the sponge ones. So let's go ahead and try with the harder one to see if we've got some more control over it then. I'm going to just use that side. You do get a much I don't know, streaky look to it then. It's like you're using paper and not something soft. And obviously that'll also move the fine pieces of your stencil then. So I'm not very keen on the hard sponge. Prefer the soft one, but the soft one is also not my favorite. There are a lot of people that use this method. I think maybe because I'm just not used to makeup sponges. So there you go. You'll see the top ones were done with the softer sponge, and then this part was done with the harder sponge. The lines are much more streaky. You can see definite line marks on it. The flowers came out pretty nice. They have some nice texture to them, which is what I'm going for. Next way that you can use stencils with your gelatos is using a wet wipe. So again, if you just scribble the color, and you pick it up with your wet wipe, you can just bring the color through using your wet wipe. Now the thing with this, if you use a too wet wipe, the water, excess water, runs the chance to go underneath the stencil. In other words, to smush the color. You know how when you do mixed media, you want to use a flat palette knife and make sure that your medium does not go underneath your stencil. You run that risk with using a wet wipe. You'll see when the surface is wet, the color doesn't come off as easily. Let's try the flowers, and I can already feel that my wet wipe is a bit too wet, so I might have smudged edges. Let's have a look, and there you'll see what I'm talking about. The water went underneath the stencil, so it does give it beautiful texture. I actually love that, but you can see that it smudged a lot of the places. You can't see the clear definition there because it's smudged if you look at that flower versus that flower. So make sure that when you do use a wet wipe, it's a slightly drier wet wipe, so leave it out for a little while before you use it, so that it does still have some moisture, but not so much that it goes underneath the stencil. Okay, so those are my 4 methods so far. Sorry, I'm out of breath. My finger, the finger dauber, the makeup sponges, and then the wet wipe. Now, to my favorite, by far. And I'm going to use blue for this. I just want to dry this surface a bit so that we can scribble the color down. And what I love about this next method is that whatever type of stencil you use, you get beautiful, crisp, clear images. I'm going to show you on the lettering, I'm going to show you even on those, the crispness of the image that comes out with this. So this is a makeup brush. It's called a foundation contour brush. And this is apparently what the people do to make all those nice highlights on their cheeks and stuff like that. Needless to say, I am not a makeup artist. I do not wear a whole lot of makeup. I think because I've never been a makeup girl. So I use these makeup brushes for something completely different than makeup, and I laugh because every time I go into a pharmacy or a makeup store to go ask for these, they always look at me very weird because I have no makeup on, but I want these specialized brushes. Okay, so I've done the same thing. I've scribbled my gelato color onto my non-stick craft mat. You saw me now clean this brush before. I don't add soap to it. When you clean this, don't add soap, because soap makes it sticky. You don't want it sticky. You want it to stay as soft and firm as, or soft and, I don't know how to say it, but not sticky. You don't want it sticky. So when you do wash it, you can wash it with just clean water. I don't wash mine. I just literally have brushes for each color group. So I'll use this for various blues, and then to clean it, I just use a clean paper towel and just kind of hard go over it just to get the excess color off. But if you do stay within the color groups, you're sorted. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, and let's turn the stencil right way around so we can read the word. Going to pick up the color just as I would with a sponge dauber or my finger or the wet wipe, and you'll see the color on top and you'll rub over it. And now, depending on how hard you rub will be the intensity of the color that you get. But now you'll see those fine detailed pieces that are kind of just flimsy on there into little pieces don't move as much as they do with the sponge dauber or my finger or the wet wipe. And you'll see that you can intensify the color by layering it on top of one another. No problem. You get different kind of, I don't know, it just gives such a beautiful textured feel to it. I'm going to go over the word And again, just using like little circular motions. You don't even have to use circular motions. You can just go up and down. It just does it perfectly beautiful every single time. And it's quick and it's easy and it's fun. And I love how it comes out. I can pretty much tell you I'm sold. Now it's just I can't get these anywhere. They're all sold out everywhere in our local places. So I did see Mr. Price has some, and I did see Dischem has some. They are quite pricey though. I would over and over and over again say worth the investment. Look at that. Isn't it just gorgeous? So you'll see what I mean by texture. It gives different highlights and lowlights, and it just looks like it was sprayed on actually. So that's with my favorite technique. I want to thank you so much for joining me. These little tutorials happen once in a while. And yeah, check in again soon, and I'll have another process video up on Friday. Bye bye.